I'd write you up there for this one. No, sir. Please. I really can't get right up, Well, nothing I could do about it. I have rules to follow. I have to write up anybody who late. Huh? 12 demerit points? 12? You know what 12 demerit points mean? 12 and you're terminated. How you even reach 12 demerit points? Well, sir, I don't really know, I just reached the work late a few times. Well, if you don't know, who gonna know? Die life? Flight attendants work in a field with minimal supervision. During their work hours, flight attendants spend most of their time flying on aircraft or staying at layover locations. A hierarchical structure exists for flight attendants that includes positions like captain, followed by first officer and first flight attendant, among others. Flight attendants are basically responsible for themselves. The traveling public clearly sees how flight attendants behave because their ethical standards represent both themselves and their employer to everyone on board, as well as to the entire aviation industry. The flight attendant role, which emerged in the 1930s, has always been an intriguing profession under public scrutiny, which explains why airlines maintain strict performance standards for flight attendants. Most flight attendants fail to realize that practicing ethics makes up a significant portion of their daily responsibilities. Throughout their entire shift, from check-in until debriefing, they must make choices that represent significant ethical decisions. Take, for example, checking in. Flight attendants at a specific area must report to check-in exactly 1 hour before their flight departs. The consequences of late check-ins include having points assessed against the flight attendant, or demerit point. The threat of termination for reaching 12 points creates a strong incentive for flight attendants to prevent any attendance-related problems. Flight attendants at airline companies use their ID cards to scan into a computer system for check-in. Flight attendants should call crew scheduling to request being checked in if their ID card scanner fails to work. Consider the case of a flight attendant running late who has yet to arrive at the airport. Why not call crew scheduling and tell them that the computer scanner is not working and ask them to be checked in? What does it hurt? The carrier knows that the flight attendant plans to cover the trip, and one can thereby avoid the attendant's points. Aside from the potential disciplinary action a flight attendant might incur for such an infraction, the deceit itself is damaging. When one chooses to walk a fraudulent path and escapes detection, the risk is that the path will become a thoroughfare to additional ongoing and unethical choices. It is not surprising, therefore, that one instance of intentional dishonesty, a display of ethical failing, can result in termination of employment. The seat over here shaking real bad. I'm gonna have to write up a report and send it to Captain Dongaloo. Captain, we have a problem. One of the seats in the flight deck not securely fastened, and I'm wondering if we need it to get fixed before we depart.
Well, so you don't know what's I mean, list minimum equipment. Listen, this plane to take off now. I mean, take it going now. We're already delayed.
Alright, sir, no problem. Alright, I'll be report after we land at our destination.
Yeah, and well, you will get my cup of coffee too now. Be useful.
According to company regulations, flight attendants may need to lead a pre-flight briefing, which explains their safety rules and emergency responsibilities. Both flight attendants and pilots may need to deliver pre-flight briefings which address projected flight times along with in-flight weather conditions and emergency communication protocols. The crew members must perform these briefings because they owe an ethical responsibility both to each other and their passengers. In modern aviation, operations, time savings, and punctuality are essential while ensuring customer service standards as a priority. The demands placed upon crew members forces them to multitask while resources diminish. People occasionally make wrong decisions because they want to save time. During what will become a 13-hour duty period, On their final day of a 3-day trip, a flight attendant discovers a non-critical malfunction in the cabin. When an attendant writes up the broken item as required and hands it to the flight deck during their next stop, one among 5 or 6 scheduled stops, the flight deck needs to summon a mechanic to inspect and repair the item, or add it to the minimum equipment list. The problem will create a day that lasts several minutes, but will probably extend longer. The flight attendant has made up their mind to finish their shift and go home. The decision to write up the issue during the commute allows the flight to avoid delays during travel. Occasionally, crew members push flight attendants to engage in unethical conduct to avoid flight delays. Even pilots have been known to say, "Do you really want to discuss that at this moment?" Flight attendants receive indirect signals from training supervisors who tell them to record cabin problems immediately while giving them an understanding look. The unspoken message to flight attendants is, assess your behavior to understand its impact on the carrier's ability to maintain on-time performance.